It's now time to look at the papers quickly to the Daily Graphic, and on its front page, the biggest headline says here, boon for printing firms, as government directs printing of all textbooks locally. Also on its front page says, transport operators NPA fight over new lorry fares. Transport operators NPA fight over new lorry fares. Italian Prime Minister on visit to deepen ties with Ghana. Remember, today he'll be in Parliament, and I'm members of Parliament here. They will get a quick comment from them as well. Now, sea erosion, that's on its back page. It says, sea erosion steadily wiping out 5 Keta communities. The Ghanaian Times newspaper here says, ECG offices under siege. ECG offices under siege by customers expecting refund. Drivers charge new fares despite fuel price cut, and Bumpurugu residents flee from town. The Business and Financial Times here says that banks' profit falls as bad loans power take toll on operations. And Sankofa Jinyami to deliver first oil next year, and WAEC looks to IGF to fund operations. Back page commercial stories there. Indum advocates for robust regulations. That's of mushroom microfinance companies. Indum advocates for robust regulations, and DI mounts pressure on EC to implement committee report. The Daily Guide newspaper says 4 charged over 61 million cedis financial loss. 4 charged over 61 million cedis financial loss. And red flag over KIA security. And indigenous firms protest operation of foreign firm. And 5 Chinese, 3 Ghanaians arrested for galamsey. And then Imani is most influential think tank and Africa's second best, according to a report. And Occupy Ghana threatens lawsuit over the 3.6 million cedis bus branding saga. Those are the stories captured by the Finder newspaper. The Financial Post here says the fiscal deficit narrows further, and that's just about it for the morning. All right, so that's my final paper for the morning. Let me introduce the members of Parliament. Yes, so I'll be do a job with this morning. Right, let me introduce my guest for the morning. I have 2 members of Parliament. Member of Parliament for Bekwai has joined us, Joseph Wusu. Very good morning to you and welcome to the show. Also, we have a Member of Parliament for Notong and Deputy Minister Education, Samuel Okujoto Ablako. Good morning to you and welcome to the show as well. All right, so quickly, I want to start off with the transport fares, NPA fights over lorry fares. The confusion for many people, they just don't understand why fuel prices goes down and our prices doesn't stay same, but it's even going up. And then you have the NPA come out saying, well, there was supposed to be a meeting between the transport operators and them to agree on the final amount, because they hadn't agreed on the 15%. They were hoping that 10% maximum would be imposed on them. So where do we put the blame, and how do we get to the people to say, for them to even understand, because it doesn't make sense. How does price go down and our prices go up? Where do we put it?
Well, good morning to you. Good morning to Honorable Joe Wise, as we call him. We are also colleagues on the Transport Committee. So,
great.
So we work.
Then it's good. It means you know a lot. Great. So we have a lot to talk about here.
Yes. Well, there are 2 issues happening here. First of all, you had a situation where Parliament imposed new levies because we had to take care of what has been christened the legacy debts. We have all come to understand that a number of our power sector companies, I refer to ECG, Gridco, VRA, have quite a substantial debt which has accrued over the years. Some estimates put the debt at about 1.5 billion Ghana cedis, and so it is imperative that we address that debt. Then there was also the issue of some of the items in the price build-up, the what we popularly refer to as the road levy, and then the street lights levy. All of those things had to be adjusted. So you needed to carry out these interventions so that you can address the challenge with our power providers, so that you clear this legacy debt, and then we can begin on a fresh page, so we can put this perennial energy crisis behind us. Because apart from the generation challenge that we have had as a country, you also have a situation where these power providers are reeling under huge debts, and it was important to address both issues. You can't address the generation deficit and leave the financial aspect of the problem. You have a situation where banks were even refusing to hand over LCs to these companies. They have now been able to put together more thermal plants, but cannot even raise the financial wherewithal to buy crude to power these thermal plants. Mind you, our energy mix has now changed. It's no longer hydro-driven. It's now driven by thermal. You now have hydro production being in let me use the word minority in terms of the mix. So there was the need for government to introduce these taxes, and that is why, though on the global market, over the past 18 months, crude prices have gone down by more than 80% over the last 18 months, being seen as one of the lowest ever. Analysts are saying that the last time this happened was probably 1986, when there was a glut. But you've noticed that even with these taxes that have been introduced, it is still, our prices in Ghana are still lower than 15 months ago, when the prices were fixed.
Yeah, but the buck stops with the government. People want to see action on this.
I'm still developing my point. But having said that, it is important to appreciate the fact that now that these taxes have settled in, you are beginning to see a reduction. This week we saw marginal reductions at the pump between 2 to 5%, and it will continue to go down because we now have a deregulated environment. There's positive competition amongst the providers, so it is expected that the prices will continue to go down. On the transport fare, which is the second part of your question, we need to appreciate that listening to members of the tripartite, the Transport Ministry officials, the NPA officials, and the transport operators, one gets the impression that talks were going on. Talks were not completed when the transport operators went ahead
because they were waiting for a response on Sunday, and that response didn't come. So they assumed that it meant they agreed with the 15%.
You see, I have heard the NPA Chief Executive, Honorable Moses Asaga, speak.
Yes.
He says that the transport operators knew that by Monday there will be a commencement of these marginal reductions. So his own analysis is that because they were determined, the transport operators were determined to increase the fares by 15%, they did not want to wait till Monday, because then they would look very bad in the public eye if they had waited to Monday. Once negotiations are continuing, I thought that it would only have been fair for all parties to remain true to the negotiations. You know, there's something called bad faith. There's something called arm twisting in negotiations.
You think that's what the transport operators have done?
I hope that that is not what is going on now, and I would want to continue to re-echo the appeals that has come from other key negotiators, the NPA and the Transport Ministry, that they should go back to the negotiating table, especially this week that prices are beginning to fall. I think
But they've
that it
already
is only
affected the
fair.
prices.
It is
They've
only
already
fair.
done so, and
It
the
is-
consumers are paying for
It
it.
is, yeah, but you can still, these are human interventions. I don't think that is really market driven.
Okay.
I've
Alright.
had other financial analysts who have looked at the last time that these transport fares were increased. You know, there have been a number of reductions at the pump, but transport fares had not gone down. So they have done the analysis, and they are saying that the transport operators could really have operated generally within the current framework without increasing transport fares. So I see, you know, some disagreement here, which will not help. And being a very sensitive period, I do not want to pass judgment. I just want to appeal to all the stakeholders to get back to the negotiating table. And ultimately, it should be the Ghanaian consumer who should benefit and who should be treated fairly in all of these negotiations.
All right. Mrs. Sewusu, the NPA's chief executive, I think used the word like betrayal, that the Ghana Road Council, Coordinating Council, the Road Transport Coordinating Council, had betrayed them because the negotiations had not concluded. For the person on the streets, they don't care about these things. All they care is that they want to see their fares down because they see what's happening in the world markets. Where do we place, what the NPA is saying and what the transport owners are saying?
Well, first, let's start from the legacy debt, which Honorable Kujutu suggests as a reason in the first place for the upward adjustment of fuel prices when the crude price is taking a nosedive. And when he says legacy debt, what does it mean? All it means is that the responsibility the government of Ghana has failed to perform over the years, the debt it owes various agencies that it has not paid. You put them together and it says that the government of Ghana, to whom we pay all our taxes, cannot afford it. But we, the ordinary people, should bear that brand. For me, it is turning governance and leadership upside down. We continue to contribute huge sums of money into the national coffers for you to take responsibility for the services you use. You fail to do that, put them together, bring them back to me to pay. I think that's most unfair, and therefore, if you ask me, the justification for the increases that we speak today cannot all be due to the legacy debts. And again, how much are the debts? Transparency suggests that we should know, because you see, the issue about one of them, for example, toll debt, from 2009 became a big issue. Gold up, come down. Then the Minister of Finance came to Parliament, suggested I'm taking a loan to pay off all those debts. And then we come back, but the fee, the levy has been on the fuel build-up since that time, even though we presume to have finished paying that one. Now, whatever it is, how much is it? How long will that take to recover? And how did we determine the amount that should be paid in the build-up? We think that all this information should be freely available to every Ghanaian. So we know that after 5 years, nobody should come back and ask me for money for legacy debt or whatever you call it. Now, when you move on from there, now this morning somebody sent me a post from Chicago. A gallon of gasoline, that's what they call it, is less than 80 cents. If you convert that to Ghana cedi in terms of even 4 cedis per, it's about 3 cedis, 20 pesos maximum for a gallon. And we are paying only 15 cedis, more than 4 times that.
But Honorable, we have a budget too, and there's a figure. I think we hedged, right? There's a figure we're supposed to be paying. So even if it's going down, it still affects us negatively, doesn't it? Because government has to look for money to make up for the difference on the budgets, right?
No, but why should it come from the ordinary poor user? How is that affecting businesses?
Because we have oil prices that we're looking at.
No, we are looking at revenue.
Yes,
that part, that did not come.
Yes.
So we have a revenue fall. And for that reason, we should supplement that with bringing in. Now, I think that's inappropriate.
Okay.
We could have,
so how do we go about it then?
We could have saved huge sums of money if we protected the pests. How much money we waste through corruption and unjustifiable expenditure. if we were focused on that alone, the Auditor General's report shows that the amount of money we could save annually will be sufficient to cover whatever new taxes we are introducing. Now, if you move on to the price, transport operators, sometimes I'm confused whether we are still operating the regulated economy. Because you sit here, for example, TV3, you decide the cost after putting all your costs together. You decide that I will charge so much for an advert, so I'll be in business. A person who packages a bottle of water puts together all his costs and decides that for a 500 milliliter bottle, I'll charge so much. Nobody goes to regulate that. But when it comes to transport, not public transport,
sure,
private transport, then suddenly we have regulators here trying to persuade you not to increase to that. Nobody is looking at exactly how that is affecting the businesses of the transport sector. I happen to have...
So the reasons assigned by them, are they justified? That they are looking at insurance claim, insurance premiums that have gone up. They cite, spare parts that have gone up. But
put that all together and call it cost of production. Are they justifiable? Are they not costs they incur annually, daily, and weekly? If they are, if you're a vehicle owner, you know that even third-party insurance now, how much is it? If you're doing comprehensive, then it's out of the out of the question for the private operators. But third-party insurance, tires, for those buses and trotro, the tires and their brakes wear out very frequently. I was a driver's mate, so I have that experience.
Oh, okay.
And then I worked at DVLA for so long, so I have quite an interaction with them. So I know that their operating cost is also high. We want them to be in business because as a country we have failed to provide a sustainable intra-city transport mostly.
Okay.
And then intercity is doing well, haulage is doing well, but intra-city we are practically failing.
Okay.
So we want them to be in business, but we should not try to regulate their business. When we don't regulate the other environment, how much does the mechanic charge for servicing a vehicle? Nobody regulates that. So why should he, when I go and he charges me as he considers appropriate for his business, then you come and regulate how I should charge, not taking into consideration how much it costs me to service the vehicle per month. I think all these quasi...
So in this case, what do we do? So we should let it stand? The 15%, we should allow it to stand? Because government intends to, I know they're supposed to meet again and see if they can review it, I think, by 2%.
Whether 15 or 10%, I think it is the business that determines it. The cost of operating the business. It is not operated by the need or the income of the user. Nobody looks at your income to determine how much electricity bill you should pay. They say that's the cost of producing 1 unit of electricity, and so that's how much you must pay. When it comes to transport operation, then we want to regulate in such a way as to stifle them. I totally disagree with that approach to managing the economy.
Okay, all right. You want to do a quick...
Yeah, I've got a number of fundamental difficulties with Honorable Sewusu's argument. Well, first of all, if you are pushing for full deregulation, then push for it at all fronts. You can't have a situation where you are asking the government to stay out and have the transport operators determine their own prices. Meanwhile, within the transport sector, they are not fully deregulated. They have, for want of a better word, a cartel or an association.
Unions.
Or a union. And they are not allowing market forces to determine their prices. They meet and then agree, and it's compulsory. All members, this is our charge, and everybody must toe the line. Okay. So if you are arguing for full deregulation, it's not only about government moving out. I will come along with that argument if the transport operators will also allow their members and allow for competition to play out, so that A trotro driver in Medina is free to charge whatever. A trotro driver in Dansuman or a trotro driver in Bato or Mapa in my constituency can charge whatever they want. But to the extent that within their industry, they are comfortable with having very powerful executives who determine the prices. That is what has come to stay. And any responsible government seeing that kind of situation, and especially as we are social democrats, we will want to also be in there and to make sure that the control mechanisms, which they themselves have subjected themselves to, we are in there to make sure that everybody is protected. Then there's also the other argument he raises, which is quite problematic. And that argument simply says that if we stop corruption, if we stop wastages, Auditor General's report and all of that, you know, it's the usual rhetoric that doesn't give you any figures, that doesn't give, look, we are committed in the fight against corruption. We believe that corruption is an issue. The president himself has boldly stated that he's called corruption a mass murder, and he is committed to the fight against corruption. And all the international reports coming out recently point to the fact that the international independent assessors are impressed with the effort of his president, of His Excellency the President, in fighting corruption. What we need to stay away from is trying to use the corruption issue, which really is endemic, cuts across. It's not just an MPP NDC issue. You look at the Auditor General's report. You look at all those officials in the public space who have questions to answer. I don't think that we should go out looking for their party colors, whether they're MPP, NDC, it shouldn't matter. If you have acted wrongly, you should refund monies, you should be prosecuted. We should fight it and not make it a partisan issue.
Okay.
But that would not address the issues. We want our roads fixed. We want stable energy and reliable energy. We want hospitals. We want schools. Where do we find the money? If you say that, why is the government going to the ordinary Ghanaian? And he made that point on countless occasions. No government anywhere in the world calls a cabinet meeting and then every cabinet minister contributes or donates. I mean, we have taken a 10% cut, but really, how much is that? How many hospitals can that build? Okay. It doesn't solve the concrete problems that confront us. So those are the fundamental difficulties I have.
Yeah, but the point, even before Honorable comes in, the point is, I mean, the person who is watching or reading hears that, okay, 6 million cedis has gone here, 100 million cedis has been lost. And so they think about, okay, if all that money had come together, why go and borrow? Or why you could have used it to do this road instead of borrowing to do that road. So that argument, it's there. People think like that. So it's not completely out for anybody, or it's not unusual for somebody to think like that.
I'm saying that is a fair argument, but let's not make it a partisan issue. If you read the Auditor General's report, which he made reference to, there are all kinds of actors in the public space who have questions to answer. It is not an MPP NDC matter. Okay, I'm saying that let's fight corruption. Those savings can help us. But really, even in the countries where corruption is not an issue, take the TI,
the likes of Denmark,
the TI rankings,
Netherlands.
Those are countries.
They are top.
Yes, those are countries who pay the highest of taxes. Highest of taxes. Check those Scandinavian countries. They pay more taxes than any other country, and they hold their leaders accountable to deliver, to provide them their roads, their housing, their hospitals, and all of that. So you still have to collect taxes. Okay. So let's not create the impression let's not create the impression as if it's a this and that once you succeed in a fight against corruption, we will no longer go to the people for taxes. When you make that kind of argument, then you are not being fair to the people.
Quick comment, and then I will continue. We'll move on to the daily guide.
Partisanship was introduced by Honorable Okujeto, not me. I said Auditor General's report, and there are no party colors there. Money going waste, money being stolen, money being used for purposes other than which is budgeted for. It's not partisan. Okay. 2, there are also the executive part. Those of us in political office holders misconduct. It's also costing the nation huge sums of money, right? But when it comes to the legacy debt, my complaint about charging us or the legacy debt.
It's to be transparent about, so you know how much.
Yes, how much. Then 2, it is your light bill you fail to pay. I have paid mine. You fail to pay yours. You compile it over the years, and then you also sell it to me, or yes, distribute it across. That's why I'm saying that when the government fails to pay its due, it's not fair for him to then distribute it to us. It's not about taxes at all.
Okay.
I'm a firm believer in taxes, and as he suggested, the countries that pay high taxes, they don't complain because they see the taxes working for them.
Sure.
And that's where, as far as I'm concerned, nobody would complain if we saw. And that's why transparency is so important. Maybe actually our taxes are working for us, but you try and find out information about how much revenue has been generated in road tolls altogether. Even me, we are members of the Transport Committee. We don't have that information. Where has it been used? You know, so even though I know it is being used, I cannot speak and persuade somebody that, oh, this amount of money is doing that work for you. That lack of information, the lack of openness, it's making it difficult for people to identify this sort of revenue, this money that I'm paying, where is it going? Okay. Otherwise, tax is it is the nation's soul. Okay. Without that, you can't build a nation.
All right.
I thought you just allow me to check.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, you do not have. We have to move.
Just a second. You know,
One second.
He spoke as though the legacy debts are unpaid for bills by government. That is not the issue, and he knows very much that there are more fundamental issues there. We are referring to sometimes the LCs that have not been paid for, the bringing in of these thermal equipment, the refurbishments that have been done, the retrofitting, and all of that. I mean, serious infrastructural investments that have to be paid for. It's not just an issue of Ministry of Education not paying its bills, and that is why we are transferring our bills to the people.
Ministry of Education.
Thank you. Have you paid?
We are paid.
Thank you very much. We'll go to the daily guide because we're talking about issues of bills, transparency, and the like. And we understand that 4 charged over 61 million cedis, and it says here it's also that 4 persons, including a former chief director of the Ministry of Energy, are before the Economic Financial Court in Accra for allegedly causing financial loss to the state to the tune of 61 million cedis. Now, their names have been given here, but then according to the prosecution, there was a point I want to read that the prosecution, led by Charles Wilcox Ofori, an assistant state attorney, the accused persons between 2004 and 2009, with a common purpose, conspired and deliberately schemed to cause financial loss to the state in the said amount, which is the 61 million cedis, when they fraudulently authored and signed a guarantee for a loan facility for NDK Financial Service, and it was supposed to be used for the rural electrification. This has come out, and a lot of the times when you hear that persons are before you are thinking about the political heads, the figures, they are resigning and the like, and there's also this widely held belief that governments come and go, but the civil servants are always there. So to hear that, okay, chief directors, people who are really into the thick of the management of operations, are facing the law court, must be an exciting news that indeed we're pushing.
Oh yes, I'm all for prosecuting and punishing people. That is the only way to assure that, one, people will feel deterred, the fear that they will be punished will not let them do it, and that those who are bold enough to do it will be caught and punished. So whoever, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter whose ox is God. So long as the evidence suggests that the person has done something wrong, we should go after him. I'm all for that,
okay.
So, as I said, the Auditor General's report often covers largely public and civil servants.
Sure.
Right. That area is one area we overlook often. The report suggests do this, do that, and after that, nothing happens. I recall that about 5-6 years ago, the discussion was having a financial court and whether the controller can set it up or whether the chief justice can set it. Now that has been settled. Now the issue is who determines who goes to court. Once the report has come to Parliament, the Public Accounts Committee have given people the opportunity to be heard in those respects, and they still find that there's evidence suggesting that you have misappropriated funds, or that you have stolen, or that you have breached rules, then from there, Parliament approves. It goes back to the Attorney General. Often that is where it ends. But that's where Occupy Ghana, I agree with them that sure. The Auditor General also has power under the Constitution to surcharge for officers who are supposed to follow up, and even to prosecute, to send people to court to recover these things. I think that the governance system requires leadership at every level. There's a political leadership, but we need institutional leadership, and even in the institutional, we need them at every level. People taking responsibility for the acts and inactions, actions and inactions in their respective areas, and ensuring that we get the services we pay for, we get value for money. But above all, we the politicians. I always use the word we because I want to assure myself that today I'm sitting in opposition, I don't have control over any finances, but a few years back I had. And so what we do, a lot of the times it is our failure to ensure that the rules are respected, either because we ourselves want to influence the procurement, or that we are simply careless, that a lot of the breaches occur. I regret to refer to Jifa. She was my friend. She resigned. Now I've seen the report. At first, I thought it was unfair on her, but after seeing the report, I think it was deserving.
That she resigned.
Yes, and indeed, if I were the authority, I would go further, because the report suggests that smarties were
we have
paid.
To be careful because I've heard the communication minister say that report is not.
Please,
authentic.
I have a copy, and I can attest to it that this is a report from the Attorney General.
I've seen those unsigned reports that I was on a program with Nana Komia last week.
Please, I have a copy, and
signed?
I know what I'm talking about.
Is your report signed? Because it's an unsigned report which is making the rounds.
I'm saying that if I were the person in charge, I would recommend, as the Attorney General did, that a number of people in the procurement chain should be prosecuted. Okay. As to why we are romanticizing corruption by saying refund the money and go your scot-free, what it means is that, like my mom used to say, either I die or I die trying. If I succeed, if I don't succeed, I only refund the money. That is a good exercise. We should go on and ensure that we prosecute to the end. Often, after the report like this, nobody follows up, and they find a way of letting the matter die without coming to a conclusion.
Okay, all right. So, Samuel, well, yeah, it's good news that it's not just the political actors, the main actors who are being prosecuted or have their names bundled around in the media, that indeed those who are in the offices, that whether it's the chief directors or administrators who are all party to it, are facing the law.
It's a positive development. I mean, this is what we want to see. A while ago I was talking about the fact that all of these actors in the public space, all of us, I mean, we ought to be careful, and we must judiciously protect the public purse. It should not be a partisan matter. And you notice in this case that these are civil servants who have questions to answer. It will be, at this point, sub judice to pronounce when the courts are yet to give a final determination. But what is important is that the systems appear to be working. The Attorney General is prosecuting, and that is what Ghanaians want to see. I think that President Mahama has done so much in the fight against corruption that he's being given credit for. We have a situation where he himself, in my ministry, for example, directed the BNI to investigate the National Service and found out that apparently, again, public servants there, not necessarily politicians, had padded the role. And so every year they were pocketing millions of Ghana cedis. As we speak, about 20 million Ghana cedis has been received from these, from about 20 million Ghana cedis has been received by the BNI from these perpetrators, and people are being prosecuted. Okay. We know of ongoing investigations, the GES payroll audit, for example. I was reading a report last week, startling revelations about people who should not be on the payroll who are there. We know of the National Health Insurance investigations ongoing. And on the issue of refunds, you see, well, there are two schools of thought. There are others also who say that if you just imprison the perpetrator and he comes out of prison, say, after 5 years or even 10 years, and his booty is waiting for him, he has even invested the booty, what have you gained? The people have still lost the opportunity to get their monies back that can go into development for them. Okay. So refunds are critical. Then you have Honorable Osewusu, who is more for the incarceration aspect, where he wants to see people jailed. I believe strongly that the refunds route which this government has taken, making sure that the first thing when these matters are discovered is that we put our hands on the money, we make sure that refunds are secured. I think that that is good. Of course, refunds do not preclude further investigations and prosecution. You can still go ahead and prosecute perpetrators. We do not know in all of these cases what the Attorney General's final action will be. But I think that it is very positive. I think that what the vast majority of Ghanaians want is their monies back in all of these cases anytime.
But the Attorney General is accused of being slow.
I think that this Attorney General has been very aggressive. She's one of those public officials who is, quietly efficient, very hardworking, very dynamic, but likes to stay in the background, doesn't want to be in your face. She has been very rigorous. I know that there are times that she has gotten Iyoko to go after some of those people. I know that even with these people who you say have not fully refunded, there are post-dated checks that she has talked about that are waiting to clear. And she's been really tough. And it's not as though she has not succeeded. So far, from checks, we hear that on the RLG and the JIDA cases, quite substantial amounts. I hear about 70 million Ghana cedis has been collected so far, and collections are ongoing. So let's support the Attorney General. I think that it's good that Ghanaians are getting their monies back. That is just the first step. We do not know how the Attorney General intends to proceed on this matter. She's the only one clothed with authority to determine the final outcome of these cases. But I think that she's on the right track, objectively speaking. She's not the
only one. The government has a responsibility in it.
Objectively speaking, and once we get in our monies back, refunds are coming in, and we are able to get these monies back for development, towards the advancement of the people's livelihoods. I think that is the way to go.
How about those who say, well, the monies have been with them for a while, how about they pay interest on it?
It's an argument I agree with. It's an argument I agree with, except that sometimes you would have maybe contractual issues and legal issues, because I did hear that in the JIDA case, for example, those companies that the JIDA authorities gave the loans to, the contract stated interest-free loans. Yeah. I mean, why will you put such a clause in the contract? I mean, it's very bad, and that's why those officials are being prosecuted. As I speak to you, those officials are being prosecuted, including a sitting member of parliament, which is the first to happen in this Fourth Republic, where a sitting member of parliament, a sitting member of parliament of the ruling party is being prosecuted. It's never happened. So it is important that we acknowledge these gains that are being made, and also look at the fine details of these matters. Sometimes there are contractual challenges and all of that, which is wrong, but again, government must be careful. As the president has said, we live in a constitutional democracy. If the president had his own way, if it was a revolutionary era, he could go pick up people, demand refunds and all of that. But where the people are in court insisting on due process and saying that they have contracts, some of which have said that these are interest-free loans and all of that, you ought to be careful as a constitutional government.
All right, thank you. Quick comment on what do you make of the Attorney General?
Often when we have had interactions with her and she has provided information, I find it satisfactory. But you see, now we are hearing pieces of information that some people are paying monies. Should it come from that source? I'm so worried about how pussy information flow in this country.
How do you want it? How would you want to receive that?
Should she not be reporting regularly to Parliament, or at least the Committee on Constitutional and Legal Affairs? Because we brought her to Parliament to provide evidence. She says we are in court. Give me 3 months. We will give you a feedback. It's been over 1 year. No feedback. But then you pick pieces of information from people who are supposed to be connected to government. So who will verify that? The information he's speaking, how do I verify that? But if the Attorney General came, I'll ask for evidence and she will, put them on the table, yes. But beyond that, I think that any concept that says that for fighting corruption, punishment should be out of the equation will be missing the point. Because you want to deter people. If you just collect your money and let him go, he will do it again. Another person will do it again. So long as the acts or omissions constitute an offense under the law of Ghana, use that law. Who says when you prosecute people, you can't collect your money back? You can trace people, trace it, collect your money back. But if you catch me, I refund. If you don't catch me, I go. Then I'm not deterred. The fear of incarceration is what really deters. Naming and shaming and incarceration is what will deter people. Otherwise, there's a natural tendency in any human being to take advantage of the system you get. But the fear that, hey, me, sitting here, showing my face on TV, the next day I'm being prosecuted for stealing. The embarrassment that I cause myself, I cause my family, is what will make me stay away from anything that will embarrass me or my family. So long as we can quietly discuss it and I'll pay back. And often, how do you not even determine whether the payback is full or because I can tell you.
There must be records to show that.
Often there's none.
Okay, right. Just a quick one, actually. Just a quick one on that. The Occupy Ghana, threatens lawsuit. That's in the Finder newspaper, and it has to do with the 3.6 million bus branding. And they're simply saying the Occupy Ghana is demanding answers from the Attorney General and Minister of Justice on 14 questions that probe further into circumstances that led to the controversial rebranding of the Metro Mass Transit bus at a cost of 3.6 million cedis. Now, they are accusing government of suppressing information surrounding the whole saga with the aim of preventing the proper legal steps from being taken to tackle the serious allegation. This point they are making simply points to the fact that the point he is making that indeed, when you have not the information, it gives room for people to speculate and think all kinds of things, and you can't blame them for that. So, government intentionally suppressing information?
Look, we have said time without number that the best way to fight corruption is to allow for as much sunshine as possible. Just put everything out there. And when this bus branding matter occurred, that's the same week, it was the minority leader in Parliament who made reference to that
the petroleum.
allocation, the petroleum receipts. And that same week, Chief of Staff issued a statement saying that the Attorney General should review the contract and present a report to his office. Gave her just 3 days to carry out that review. By the next week, we know that actions were taken, the report was received, was studied, the transport minister resigned, an amount of money, about 1.6 million Ghana cedis was asked to be refunded, and as we do know, meetings have gone on between the Attorney General's department and the Smarties, the company in question, and they have agreed on a payment schedule. So swift action has been carried out, and all of these things have happened in the open. A lot of sunshine. What
the letter was in the open. You saw the letter from the chief of staff.
There was a public press statement, and when the report was presented to the chief of staff, there was press reportage. Good. Now the question of what is contained in the report. The chief of staff statement did not say the report will be made public. There are several classifications of government reports and government documents. You know, so at this point in time, I do not have an understanding from the presidency that this report will not be made public or will be concealed. We do not have that information
and that
yet.
will give them
I think
people
that
to make up stories around
we can ask of the chief of staff's office or the office of the president to consider making the report public or giving it to journalists. That is well within our rights. But for us to then hold on to all kinds of information, I've seen all kinds of things flying all over the place on social media. There's some purported report. There's been an official government statement that is not the report. Why do we want to do that? You see, it's different when you are legitimately asking for information, which Occupy Ghana is doing, asking for information, asking for the report to be made public. It's fine. There are many occasions and in many governments that some reports have come under different classifications and are not made public, sometimes even in the national interest or in the interest of security and all of that. But in this case, we haven't had a definite pronouncement from government whether the report will be made public or not. So why don't we wait and ask for the report to be made public instead of engaging jumping the gun and latching on signed documents, coming up with our own reports. It doesn't help anybody.
But given the furore, given the uproar, given how huge and widespread the whole saga has generated, people would say that it would only be fair the government makes it public. So people say, okay, government has been very transparent. They agreed. I think they met recently and said they will finish by March. The money will be paid by March. So, okay, this is how it is, and we have these, and people are relaxed. And indeed, they will say, okay, your government has done well.
You see, on this matter, so much information has been put out there by government that it's only the report which is being awaited. Okay. First of all, there was a press statement that government is going to act swiftly. That was made public. Then when the government act, the Attorney General reviewed the documents and presented her report, it was made public. The public got to know. When government took a decision that there should be a refund, there was an official statement, the public got to know. On the negotiations and Smarties refunding the money, there was a statement put out. The people of this country know that the Smarties is to refund by March.
We need an
So the only piece of information that is not available now is the document.
Right. Quick one. But I don't think what you're calling, those are announcements of government action.
Yes.
But what happened? What went wrong? First, who decided that the buses should be branded the way they were branded? The buses were brand new buses, ordered from the factory. Now, it is the practice that when you order, they ask you what colors you want. How come we ask for another colors, bring them to Ghana, spend another money to rebrand them? Now, who decided that the images of the president and his predecessors should be on the bus? I mean, and then who determined the cost? Who agreed? Who decided that the money allocated for railway infrastructure be diverted for this branding? All these questions have not been answered. And then the procurement process. The report I have seen says that payment was actually made before there was an attempt to go through the procurement process.
That's what you have heard.
I've seen the report. I've seen.
Okay. Which, but he's saying that it's not authentic. It's not an authentic report. So
I'm a lawyer. And I am also a member of the committee.
But it doesn't mean what you have is right. And
a member of the Committee of Transport. In these matters, I'm very well connected. So he knows that I will not put out, and they know me, I will not say anything I cannot defend. If it is, I cannot defend it, I will not utter it, So I'm saying that.
But it still doesn't mean your report is legitimate.
Well, yes. So let's see their report.
Let me issue a disclaimer. You leave me out. Yes, don't rob me into
you see,
your slippery slope.
Everything aside, whatever report the Attorney General office, what is critical is not her opinion, but the facts.
Okay.
As for the opinion, we may even disagree on what law applies, but what are the facts? Is it true that a payment was made before the procurement process began? Is it true that they applied for sole sourcing and the explanations were giving? You know, so those are the facts we want to have. Then what law applies? I can determine for myself that if this is what happened, then this AABC ought to have followed. Okay. You know, but for now, all we have is government actions. Okay.
Yes, and I think that you've had your moments, I think that these government actions ought to be acknowledged, and we also need to acknowledge the new regime, the new regime of sunshine, of openness.
This one is not sunshine
because we recall that under Osei-Wusu's government, they talked about setting up a small anti-corruption office at the office of the president to conceal corruption cases. We are not doing that.
If there was any corruption, the sunshine was it. But to date, fortunately for us, we have had 7 years.
That's anti-corruption office.
To check so it doesn't happen in the first place.
Boon for printing firms. That's the biggest story on the front page of the Daily Graphic. Says the boon for printing.
The Deputy Minister is very interested in that.
I know, Deputy Minister's picture is in front there. As government directs of all the printing of all textbooks locally, boon for printing firms. Yes, local firms. I mean, if you're a printing firm, yes, you'd be excited that indeed all textbooks. That's huge. That's huge. You know, will be printed locally. It will give them some money, some cushion, and it's also election year, so they will print a lot of posters. So, but the textbook is huge because of you know, you look at the education sector. But before you continue, so sourcing.
No, it's not going to be.
Okay. Sole sourcing is the order of the day. So far, the sole sourcing.
I want to be sure.
Again, that's another myth. The PPA has put out their 2014 report. Okay. Sole sourcing is just 1.7% of all government.
It's not true.
All government contracts.
It's not true.
So
I have a copy of the report.
It is important.
Maybe you should make a program. So we go through one by one.
It is important to state that. So we are not just engaged in sole sourcing, but on this printing, I mean, this is a very positive development. You're interested in the method of procurement?
Yes,
I can let you know from the word go that it's a competitive tender. So far, 36 companies did bid during the tender, and 8 Ghanaian companies have been selected. 8 Ghanaian companies are going to print these books. You think it's fair I mention them?
Yes, we want to know that they are Ghanaian company.
Okay, I can.
Hard-working, genuine companies.
So
they are not people. So, because some might accuse they are.
Yes. Okay, I get you. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. So, Type is one. Type is renowned. Backpress is one.
I know
Backpress has been in this business forever, but second or third generation. Graphic Communications is another one. Checkpoint.
They print check. But why are we giving it to the people who already have?
Yeah,
why?
I thought you wanted.
I thought you said reputable Ghanaian companies. You don't want a food soldier kind of, you know.
I know. I know. Yeah. Checkpoints, Backpress, Type,
Graphic,
yes.
and 4 others. I mean, I don't have the list here, but what is significant is that over 4 million textbooks are going to be printed by these companies, and 100%. The highest they've ever done is 20%, and the rest sent to China, India, Dubai, where we create jobs for those people. And what we also did was that in last year's budget, we gave them a special dispensation. So when they import the raw material, the paper, you know, we don't produce enough paper in this country. So when they import the paper, there will be no duties. So they'll clear the paper duty-free so that cost of production can go down. And we are looking at job creation. They are going to be able to create more jobs. They've told us that because of the special dispensation, they are going to cost of production is going to come down between 5 to 12%. We met them last week. They're very excited. We had a very good meeting, and they have assured us that they will do quality job. They will work on time, and they are going to. This is certainly going to help them create more jobs for the for Ghanaian youth. They also assured us that the concerns that some of the publishers had, that they may not be able to deliver, they want to assure the good people of this country that they can deliver, and they are very sure they will deliver on time. And this is really heartwarming. We are acting on the instructions of His Excellency the President, who, if you recall, directed in the last State of the Nation address that we should print all the textbooks locally.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Well, I don't know. This is, once in a while you hear this, oh, for Ghanaians, once in a while. But you see, walking the talk is another thing.
But this is walking the talk.
Oh, I don't know. This says going to.
No, as directed. But he's already mentioned the companies.
These
companies will come out and, I mean...
No, I'm not saying... Listen.
Checkpoint, type, graphic, back.
Yes.
Go ahead.
We do tenders, select contractors, and nothing happens. You know, so I'm saying that if it does happen, it's a good thing for Ghanaian business. If it does, right? But why in the first place? Well, why should it be a directive? It should be the norm. It should be the norm that when there's business here, it's done here locally. So if we're making mistakes and we are coming back, it's a good thing, but we should sustain it. Sometimes we complain that, oh, our Ghanaian local don't have capacity. Those we are sending it to because Ghanaian people don't have, their government stand by them to have the capacity. So what we are doing now, we have done it before, it has collapsed, done it before. Now we should stick to it and make sure that these firms, I mean, printing, I did a tour of a graphic printing, huge investments. Backbreast used to work for me, DVLA and Checkpoint. You know, so they are huge. But sometimes we make them go into debt because we give them huge jobs, they finish, they take loan, we don't pay them, and becomes an issue. So I'm waiting to see. As for government directing, it's another thing. My Vandal colleague, President Mama's directions are not always followed. You know, so I wait to see.
But the president of the Ghana Printers and Paper Converters Association, Mr. Pierre Bekon, gave an assurance that local printers could marshal their resources to execute the contract. Well, isn't it because here they're confirming the directive that indeed
the directive.
That indeed they have been contracted.
I want to see them paid.
So.
But can you be optimistic for once?
But
I'm very much
you are exhibiting too much pessimism.
Because you see,
gentlemen, I want to make a point. Gentlemen, but I actually want to come to the history that you're talking about. That it is no secret that if local companies do well and we produce and we generate, looking at the imbalance, the huge disparity with importing out of our imports. That local businesses do well, our city will thrive, the economy will be better. And yet, government gives direct, and the next day, Parliament, both of you, your chairs in Parliament were from China. And I heard, what's it called, Seche means a minority leader in Parliament.
Textbooks.
Yes, textbooks, exactly. But made in Ghana, producing stuff in Ghana, is part of it. And Parliament, you bring chairs from China. And Seche means, who is very vocal for one, said, oh, well, we look at the thing and we know local contractors and the time and all of that. Don't you do it to suit your needs, your interest?
Can you go to the ministries?
I'm coming to you first.
Go to the ministries and check their chairs. These were your chairs. Where are they from? They're always accusing that. We're all guilty.
This is made in Ghana.
Is it?
Yes.
No, but the truth of the matter is,
this is made in Ghana.
It is a policy we should insist on, unless it is not possible or practicable to get it from here. Yesterday, my nephew called me. Printing time, can I do posters for you?
And my dress is made in Ghana.
A part of it is.
All of it?
Oh, the sewing is made in Ghana.
All of it.
But not all fabric. The material is from
Ghana.
They
did it. They did this. The guys
this was woven in Ghana?
Yes, the guys at East Legon.
Which one?
The guys I called, Pistis.
Wow, yeah. I've seen that.
Yes, go ahead.
But the point I'm making is, my nephew calls, that I want to do this for you. So, there's a printing press at Bekwai. So long as I remain the MP, I'll not buy anything that is available at Bekwai outside. He may be offering me a cheaper cost, but it's a conscious effort to keep the money I will spend within that community. Now, unless you make that conscious effort, you would have mouth-watering offers from elsewhere. And there's the problem, it's going to be cheaper, but you have to ensure. But it's not all the time that we are capable of producing and delivering both the quality and the quantity and the time.
But we have to try it and go through the problems to get it better to the level we want.
I agree with you entirely, and that's why I was saying that when, instead of complaining about not having capacity, we should be finding ways to support, to help them bring their capacity up so they can and deal with it, you know. As for Parliament one, it is the Speaker and his team that did their procurement. we are only users of what is available, but you find that
it's not in the best of shape, is it?
I don't know. There were tables there. There were tables there which were replaced. Okay. Those were made by Ghanaians and they were better.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's actually a very profound statement from the minister. So yes, they are excited, but I know the Minister of Trade and Industry, Dr. Eko Gabra, yes, keeps talking about the Made in Ghana week, promoting Made in Ghana stuff, and they're like, the point everybody wants to see is a deliberate policy directed, especially governments, who is the biggest employer, to buy from locals, because it's not just enough to have, and also protectionist law for local firms. Where are we with all of that?
I mean, fantastic point. I mean, I can tell you that the Ministry of Education, we are really walking the talk. Apart from this 100% textbook announcement and action which we are actually carrying out, school sandals were procured locally, all 10,000 in the first phase. We're just about to award the second phase. The hitherto defunct Kumasi Shoe Factory has been revitalized now, Dehawk, and they are producing these sandals. We're doing all of it locally. Our free uniforms program, we are sewing these uniforms here, giving jobs to our local tailors and seamstresses. Our exercise books, we are printing them locally. We are not sending any of them outside. Our furniture, we still insist, though recently.
Because furniture is huge, but we don't.
Will you believe that recently an Indian company came to, and Honorable Soso was talking about, mouth-watering office, saying that, we have to be environmentalists, we must go green, and that they have a great offer from India to supply furniture to us. We flatly rejected it, and we have maintained the old-fashioned way of using our wood from our timber for furniture. I mean, we can't continue to replace these trees as we use them. We create jobs for local carpenters, and it helps all of us. So at the Ministry of Education, we are really walking the talk. Our first day at school as well, you see that what we give out to the kids are all made in Ghana items.
Okay, I'll come to him for a final comment on that. But what do you make of the Italian Prime Minister who's in the country? Young Prime Minister.
Yes, I mean.
What do you expect? He'll be addressing Parliament. What do you want to hear?
Yes, he's as he said, young, dynamic Prime Minister. The visit shows that our relations are good. This is reciprocal. He invited President Mahama last year, and so he's back here. Working in the Ministry of Education, I really want to see some vocational education collaboration, because you know the Italians are very good with skills. Their dressmaking, their shoemaking, and all of that. Yeah. So I'll love to see some collaboration within our education sector and their sector in terms of skills development. But he's welcome, and we are looking forward to his address in Parliament this morning. We shall all be there.
Okay, and Renzi Mateo is like, he loves entrepreneurs. I mean, he's been driving that since he took off office, and I've forgotten, he has a nickname. Unfortunately, I was trying to recall it, but it's just not coming. No, no, but who is Ogoejima? Okay, no, but what do you hope to hear from his meeting or address today in Parliament? We'll go.
I'm not sure exactly what he'll tell us, but what I can tell you is that he's here to promote the interest, business opportunities for his country. Nothing more. What Italian businesses are doing here, construction. All the big construction firms have their roots in Italy, and he's here to promote their business. That is bottom line. Once we understand that, we will know, dealing with them, or everything they will tell you, at the back of it is what interest there is for Italy and its businesses. So if we also should have it clear, whatever negotiation relationship, how will it benefit Ghana and Ghanaian businesses? Okay. Trade.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, that is the bottom line, and that's what we should focus on.
Right.
As for printing and furniture and things, I wish that we could go from office to office to check
all right.
whether we are complying with what we are saying.
Thank you. A very big thank you to the member of
Parliament. We don't do offices, we do schools.
To your office. You don't supply to your
Thank you both. Thank you very much, Member of Parliament, for the quite Honorable Joseph Say Wusu. Thank you very much. Also, Osei Wusu.
The best name in Ghana.
I thought the O is silent. So you say Say Wusu.
Osei Wusu.
Oh, for the O. Oh, Osei Wusu. Thank you very much.
Spelled Owusu.
All right. Thank you very much.
And
also Member of Parliament from North Tongue and Deputy Minister of Education, Samuel Okujeto of Blackwell. Thank you very much for joining us.